Krishna Parabrahmane Namaha. The great major epic poem is called Mahabharata and Ramayana. Mahabharata is entirely different from Ramayana. Mahabharata is the story between Dharma and Adharma. There are so many characters we can find in Mahabharata. Mahabharata possesses the influence of the advanced coming nature of Kali Yuga, even at the Dwapara age. We can find different characters in Mahabharata. How the relationship established between brothers and sister and friends, father and mother, etc., when we compare, so many characters depicted by Vyasa according to their nature. Among them, one of the crucial character we can find in Mahabharata, like a comic villain, is called Shakuni. He is a brother of Gandhari, wife of Dhritarashtra, and also mother of Duryodhana. Dhritarashtra Gandhari, they had 100 sons and one daughter named Dushala. She also followed the path of her husband, though she had eyes, but she lived with blindfolded eyes. That is her chastity shown on her husband. The character of Shakuni is very typical in Mahabharata and also prime role. Indirectly, he became the root cause of destroying the Kuru dynasty. Whatever the reason, his character is played an important and major role in Mahabharata. In the form of playing dice game, he conquered twice Pandavas and made them to 12 years of forest and 1 year for Ajnata Vasa. Like that, he himself took the major role in Kurukshetra war also. There is a lot of reasons behind it towards Shakuni's character. Knowingly or unknowingly, Shakuni made these calamities in Kuru dynasty. Duryodhana is a symbol of pride. Shakuni, symbol of deceit. Both are cunning fellows. Because of his cunningness, Shakuni made all of them into one row to fight against Dharma, that is Pandavas. Pandavas are towards Dharma side, Kauravas are towards Adharma. Therefore, the war took place between Dharma and Adharma. Finally, they got victory only to Dharma. That is why Jayam, Mahabharata is another name called Jayam, because Jayam means victory comes to Dharma. Finally, Dharma alone wins, not Adharma. It shows perfectly in Mahabharata. In each and every character, Vyasa took very much care to depict in beautiful manner. So, Shakuni, however, he is one of the principal character in Mahabharata. In Kurukshetra war, he also fought. Especially, he fought with Sahadeva with a tremendous way. But finally, he was killed by Sahadeva and lost his life. That is the end of Shakuni's chapter in Mahabharata. Shakuni's character was sketched in Mahabharata in that way. So, today I took special topic of Shakuni Mahabharatam. Let us see the details. Prayer. Pujyaya Raghavendraya Satyadharmarataya Cha Bhajatam Kalpavrukshaya Namatam Kamate Nave. Shakuni is one of the principal characters in the Hindu epic Mahabharata. He was the prince of the kingdom of Gandhara when introduced, later becoming its king after the death of his father, Subala. He was the brother of Gandhari and maternal uncle of Kauravas. Portrayed as an intelligent, crafty, and devious, Shakuni supported his nephews, particularly the eldest Duryodhana, in plotting against their cousins, the Pandavas. It was Shakuni who played the game of dice, one of the seminal events in the epic. During the Kurukshetra war, Shakuni was killed by the youngest Pandava, Sahadeva. The Sanskrit word Shakuni means a large bird. In the epic, Shakuni has been referred to by many names. Shakuni shares his name with some other figures, including a divine serpent, a rishi, a son of king of Ikshvaku, and an Asura son of Hiranyaksha, who was the father of Vrikasura. Saubala is a prominent other name of Shakuni because Subala's son became Saubala, derived from Subala, the name of Shakuni's father. Other patronymics included Subala Putra, Subala Raja, and Subaleya or Saubaleya. As Shakuni belonged to the royal family of Gandhara, he was also referred to a Gandhara, Gandhara Naresh, Gandhara Raj, and Gandhara Pati. Parvatiya, he who is from the mountains, and Kitava means gambler, are also epithets of Shakuni. Let us find out his early life and his family. According to Mahabharata, Shakuni was an incarnation of Dwapara Yuga, the personified third epoch in Hindu cosmology. He had a sister named Gandhari and many brothers, among whom Achala and Vriksha were the most prominent. Shakuni's wife is unnamed, but some modern retelling name her Arshi. Uluka was his son, and he served as a messenger during the Kurukshetra war. The epic's Ashwamedhika Parva mentions a descendant of Shakuni who ruled Gandhara after the battle of Kurukshetra. The Adi Parva of Mahabharata says that Bhishma, then the guardian of the Kuru kingdom, went to Gandhara to arrange the marriage of its princess Gandhari to Dhritarashtra, the elder son of Vichitra Virya, who was blind by birth. Subala was initially reluctant due to Dhritarashtra's blindness, but later agreed after considering the high reputation of the Kuru royal family. Shakuni accompanied his sister to Hastinapura, the capital of Kurus. After the marriage, Shakuni returned to Gandhara. He had the quality of hatred for the Kurus. Why? Much later, in some post Mahabharata literature, Shakuni was portrayed as a victim who sought revenge on the Kurus. Mythologist Patnaik speculated that these narratives were created remind us all not to judge people without knowing their story. According to him, even the worst of villains has a story that perhaps explain their actions without conditioning that. A legend in the 8th century Jain text, the Harivamsha Purana, says that at Gandhari's birth, astrologers predicted that her husband would have a short life. Fearing this, Subala and his sons get Gandhari married to a goat prior to her marriage to Dhritarashtra and sacrifice the goat in order to nullify the defect. After Gandhari's marriage, Bhishma discovers this and becomes enraged at Subala for letting a widow become a bride of his family and decides to punish Subala and his family. Subala and his sons are captured and put in prison. Only one grain of rice is given to each captive. Knowing that Shakuni is the wisest among them and most able to take revenge, the prisoners give all their food to Shakuni so that he can survive. Eventually, Subala and his other sons die while Shakuni is released. This story is not found in the original Mahabharata and is strongly reminiscent of a similar tale told about the fall of Nanda dynasty in the Katha Sarit Sagara. Yet another tale says that Bhishma imprisoned Shakuni's family as they refused to give Gandhari in marriage to the blind Dhritarashtra. Some other narratives replace Bhishma with Duryodhana as the one Shakuni plotted against the Kurus because he was unhappy with the marriage of his beloved sister to a blind person, which he thought an insult to his family. In all of these stories, Shakuni swears to avenge this by slowly destroying Hastinapura. He achieves this by poisoning the mind of his nephew Duryodhana into instigating the war with the Pandavas, which destroyed the Kuru line, Kuru dynasty. Some versions of the story describe Shakuni using the bones of his dead parents or family members to create a dice that will never lose in game. As Shakuni's father's soul enters the dice to make it roll to whatever the number Shakuni wanted. None of these tales are mentioned in Mahabharata. Subala and his sons attended the Rajasuya Yajna of Yudhishthira. Shakuni's brother fought in the great war at Kurukshetra and they were killed during the conflict. Influence on Hastinapura. The Mahabharata states that Shakuni lived in Hastinapur and looked after his blindfold sister and her children, the Kauravas. Similarly, Krishna helps the Pandava brothers throughout the epic. The family of Draupadi also plays a major role in raising her children. Based on such examples, many scholars theorize that during the Mahabharata era, the maternal families might have played major roles in the family policies. Shakuni had a close alliance with his eldest nephew Duryodhana and wanted him to become the next emperor of the Kuru clan. Throughout the epic, he helps Duryodhana in his plans to take the throne from the Pandavas. The game of dice. In the epic, Shakuni's most dramatic part is during the gambling match between Duryodhana, represented by Shakuni, and Yudhishthira, the eldest Pandava brother. The event is one of the turning point in the epic, which leads to the humiliation of Draupadi and the exile of Pandavas. The Sabha Parva of the Mahabharata narrates the event when a succession dispute between Duryodhana and Yudhishthira arises. Dhritarashtra divides the Kuru realm into two parts. The Pandavas found the city of Indraprastha, which serves as the capital of the half of an ancestral domains. To achieve imperial status, Yudhishthira decides to perform the Rajasuya Yajna, and the royal families of different kingdoms are invited to this sacrifice. Shakuni also attends the event. After the Yajna is completed, all the guests returns to their kingdoms, but Shakuni and Duryodhana stay on and witness the wealth and prosperity of the Pandavas. Duryodhana becomes jealous of the Pandavas and he turns weak and pale due to the sadness and anxiety. Shakuni consoles him and suggests that Dhritarashtra organize a game of dice and invite Yudhishthira. He tells him that Yudhishthira is fond of the game and would not decline the invitation. Shakuni also insists that they could snatch the wealth and prosperity of the Pandavas, since he is extremely talented in rolling the dice, and although Yudhishthira loves playing it, he is not skilled in it. Upon the repeated urging of Duryodhana and Shakuni, Dhritarashtra agrees. Yudhishthira agrees and arrives in Hastinapura accompanied by his brothers and their wife. Duryodhana declares that Shakuni would represent him. As the stakes rise with each round, Shakuni wins Yudhishthira's treasures, then his kingdom, and goads Yudhishthira into gambling away his brothers Bhima, Arjuna, Nakula, Sahadeva, and finally himself. In a final throw, Draupadi too is lost. Dushyosana, on Duryodhana's orders, tried to disrobe Draupadi while her husbands look on helplessly, but Lord Krishna saved her. Kurukshetra war. Shakuni was the strategist of the Kaurava army. On the 18th day before the war, Duryodhana tried to convince Shakuni to be the commander-in-chief of his army, but refused and preferred Shalya instead. Shakuni participated in the Kurukshetra war and defeated many warriors. Not an ordinary. On the very first day of the war, Shakuni, Duryodhana and Dushasana attacked Yudhishthira to try and kill him, but they failed. On the 13th day, Shakuni and other Mahabharatis attacked and killed Abhimanyu. Many of them staged a snake attack on Abhimanyu. On the 14th day, he fought with Nakula to save Jayadratha, but was defeated. After Jayadratha's death, Shakuni planned a battle at midnight. Death. After the game of dice episode in the Mahabharata, the youngest of the Pandava brothers, Sahadeva, had taken an oath to avenge Draupadi's insult and had sworn to kill Shakuni, the mastermind of the episode. On the 18th day of the Mahabharata war, the Pandavas attacked Shakuni, Uluka, and their army. As Duryodhana and his other brothers rushed to protect their uncle, Bhima stepped in, fought the remaining Kauravas, and killed many of them, except Duryodhana. Meanwhile, Nakula killed many prominent Gandharan warriors and the bodyguards of Uluka. Sahadeva fought Shakuni and Uluka and not long afterwards killed Uluka. Shakuni became furious and attacked Sahadeva. He broke his chariot and bow, but Sahadeva ascended another chariot and fought with Shakuni ferociously. After many attacks and tackles, both of them descended from their chariots to settle things in duel. Sahadeva was then able to smash an axe into Shakuni's forehead, fulfilling his oath. Legacy. Temple dedicated to Shakhni at Pavitra Swaram in Kollam district, Kerala. The one and only temple in the world dedicated to Shakuni is situated in a small village called Pavitra Swaram at Kottarakkara Taluk of Kollam district in Kerala state of India as Malananda Maladeva means Shakudevi temple. Here, a granite stone under a huge as a seat of Shakuni. So totally Shakuni also had a temple in India. Here he is seen in a position of meditating Lord Shiva, one of the Trimurtis of Hinduism. Shakuni went to heaven. When Yudhishthira landed in heaven, he walked into Indra assembly. He saw there Duryodhana, Dushashana and Shakuni were sitting there. They died on the battlefield. As per the rules, either who good nor bad dies on the battlefield will go to heaven. Kauravas already received their punishment for their bad deeds on earth by losing the war and die on the pure land of Kurukshetra. As they received punishments for their bad deeds, the only thing left was to reward them for their good deeds. That's why Kauravas went to the heaven. Hastinapura exercised its military might on Gandhar. Gandhara was quite a small kingdom beset with dangers of its own. Yet its princess Gandhari was beautiful and popular too. The kingdom was not too rich either like the other kingdoms. So, when Bhishma of Hastinapura came banging on its door with an army that would have sent the rats scooping into their holes and asked for Gandhari's hand in marriage for Dhritarashtra, may guess would be that they grew afraid and accepted the union heartily. This sowed the first seeds of discontent in the heart of the kingdom's heir apparent. Dhritarashtra did not get the throne. Even after all of that transpired, Shakuni was hopeful. According to Aryavarta's own laws, Dhritarashtra would be the king and Gandhari as a queen. Hastinapura was quite a powerful and strong kingdom. Shakuni always had a soft spot for his sister. He loved her above everything and would do anything for her. He convinced his father to give Gandhari's hand in marriage to Dhritarashtra. But he was aware that the elder Kuru prince was blind. But he had expected that, being the eldest son, he would be the first in the line of succession. Once Dhritarashtra took the throne, Gandhari would lead her husband through everything. She would become a powerful figure, his sister. All his dreams came to naught means 0, when they came to Hastinapura and learned that Pandu would become king instead of Dhritarashtra, owing to the latter's blindness. This infuriated Shakuni to no end. And that's your answer to why was Shakuni against Kauravas. They imprisoned Shakuni's family. Shakuni's father and siblings protested, and for that they were thrown into jail. He was imprisoned too. The jailers gave the entire family food sufficient only for one. The king and the princess starved. The others made sure that only he was fed. They all died in front of Shakuni, his father making him promise that he would exact vengeance. This became the reason why Shakuni wanted to destroy Hastinapura. Okay. We will have one question. Why did Gandhari blindfold herself? To add fuel to the already surrounding anger, Gandhari decided to blindfold herself for the remainder of her married life, citing a reason that if she did not share in his blindness, how would she really understand him? Shakuni felt a well of pity for his sister and was guilt-ridden for his sister's fate. Another question, why Shakuni lived in Hastinapura? The answer, Hastinapura had come to them with their army. They had demanded Gandhari's hand and promised her marriage to king, and now they had reneged on their word. Hatred brimmed in his heart. He would not forget the insult to Gandhara by the kingdom that considered itself above all. That's why Shakuni was against Kauravas. He would not forget the insult to Gandhara by the kingdom that considered itself above all. Though he could not counter Vidura's arguments, which were solely based on the Shastras, he would have hoped that Bhishma or Satyavati would overlook them and make good on their promises. Alas, that did not happen. Nay, he would not let his sister suffer the same fate as Amba. He lived in Hastinapur because after the death of his father and brothers, bringing an end to the Kurus became the sole purpose of his life. His ambition is that to destroy the race of Kurus, because he promised to his father. Taking a knife, Shakuni stabbed himself on his thigh, which would make him limp every time he walked, to remind himself that his vengeance was not complete. The Kurukshetra war was a result of his evil actions and diabolical games in driving a wedge between the Pandavas and Kauravas, inciting enmity between the cousins. Then, what happened to Shakuni after the Mahabharata war is a question. After the Mahabharata war remains one of the lesser known facts about this convincing, scheming ruler of Gandhara. Given the way Shakuni, Duryodhana and his other nephews not only robbed the Pandavas of everything, but also insulted them deeply at the game of dice. The latter had sworn to kill every person who took part in the treacherous event. During the Kurukshetra war, Shakuni managed to outsmart the Pandavas right till the final day. On the 18th day of the war, Shakuni came face to face with Sahadeva, who was the youngest and wisest of the 5 brothers. He knew why Shakuni wanted to destroy Hastinapura, who Sahadeva knows well, telling him that he had avenged in the insult and injustice meted out to his family. Sahadeva asked Shakuni to withdraw from the fight and return to his kingdom and spend his remaining days in peace. Shakuni was killed by Sahadeva. Sahadeva killed Shakuni on the 18th day of the Mahabharata war. He pledged to kill Shakuni as a revenge to Draupadi's result. Thus, Shakuni's character was sketched in Mahabharata and made one of the important and major role in Kurukshetra war. Shreekantāya Kalyananade Nidedhanam Shri Venkatanivasaaya Srinivasaya Mangalam Mangala Shasanaparayar Madacharya Purogamaihi Sarvaischa Purvairācāryai Satkrutāyastu Mangalam.